6 minutes before the deadline, Saquon tweeted just those words. It is what it is. So let's dive into what it is. Kmart, what can you tell us about how close this thing got? What was it like yesterday?
Yeah, so the Giants and Saquon, they were close, but not close enough ultimately. The Giants did extend 3 different offers to Saquon yesterday in his camp. They were rejected. The issue is Saquon and the guaranteed money, feeling compensated for his value. So now Saquon has a decision to make. Do I sign the tag or do I not report at all? We don't expect to see him at training camp. The question is, will we see him week 1? I was told that is in jeopardy, but each game he misses, we're talking over $500,000 a game. So that's a big loss for a guy who's trying to make a lot of money.
Absolutely, but then there's always the potential, as Mike Tannenbaum brings up all the time, for the hold in, or just, which is to say that you come in, but all of a sudden you don't play through the aches and the pains and the bumps and the bruises that football players routinely play through. And candidly, who could blame him if that's the way his mentality is? Danny, let me ask you here, are the Giants alienating overwhelmingly the most important player on their team?
Absolutely. But they have every right to, given what we know about running backs in the NFL nowadays. Both those things can be true. The reality is this: the running back market and/or position is broken. It is not just a Saquon Barkley issue. The Giants are a playoff team with Saquon. He's been the face of that organization for a couple years now. He's coming off of the best season in his career. The Giants are not a playoff team without Saquon Barkley. But what we know about the NFL in the running back position right now, it's a slippery slope to pay that position once they hit a certain age, more so than any other one. And Greeny, that's like the overall conversation coming off of yesterday. This isn't just indifferent to Saquon. The running back market is broken. It is different than any other position in the NFL. And that is a massive issue that the NFL has to fix. They're going to have to sit down as a group and understand or try to fix how they change what is going on with the running back market. Because what you're going to see is there's not going to be a lot of young kids that play running back anymore because it's not really worth what their future could be.
That's an interesting point. And since you brought us there, let's go there. And Sal, this is the point that I know you want to make. Let's show the tweets, because the running backs around the league yesterday were fired up and upset about it.
Angry is the word.
Absolutely right. Here's Christian McCaffrey. This is criminal. 3 of the best players in the entire league, regardless of position, because Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard didn't get deals done either yesterday. This is Derrick Henry responding to a post that we put up, was saying, at this point, just take the running back position out of the game. The ones that want to be great and work as hard as they can to give their all to an organization just seems like it don't even matter. I'm with every running back that's fighting to get what they deserve.
Those are the key words from Austin Eckler, right? You poke the bear and you're going to make us do something. So what could that something be? And Dan's right. The NFL running back market is broken, Greeny, but the NFL broke the market, and they're going to have to fix it. So let's put it into perspective, right? Let's say Saquon Barkley and the Giants were close, as Kimberley said. Maybe about $5 million a year guaranteed money close. That's 2%. 2% of the $225 million salary cap. So you're basically ruining your team for 2%. Let's put it into more perspective. NFL teams collect about $2 million per game in parking revenue. $2 million per game. 17 regular season games, 3 preseason games. That's $40 million a year just in parking. So this is the working definition of penny wise and pound foolish. The Giants don't have a money problem. The Giants now have, as Dan has pointed out, a football problem. Saquon Barkley is not their running back. He's their offense. He's 40% of their offense. And you know what, Greeny? We're right here in the Big Bad Apple. We all came from the Big Bad Apple, where things are more expensive and people are paying attention. The Giants are now going to have a public relations problem.
For sure.
I think that's exactly right. And Dan, very quickly, the way this kind of thing, I wonder, plays in the locker room. Like you made the point, the running backs don't get paid. I get it. But everyone in that locker room knows that he's the guy. He's the team. They paid the quarterback $40 million because Saquon Barkley had a great year and that team made the playoffs. How's that going to play with the rest of the team?
The locker room always knows the truth. And everyone wants to see everyone get paid. But the reality is everyone in that Giants locker room knows Well, we paid the guy that we probably shouldn't have talent-wise, and we're keeping the guy that's been the heart and soul of our team for a couple years and our best player offensively on the sidelines. The reality is they should have paid Saquon what he wanted and franchise tagged Daniel Jones. Here's the unfortunate truth. If the Giants tag Saquon and he plays on it this year and they tag him again, he'll have to play 7 years in the NFL before ever getting the chance to hit true free agency. That's absurd. 7 years. In a league where when teams identify we drafted a good young talent, teams do everything they can to get guys on a second and or third contract before the end of that initial contract, before they have the chance to hit free agency. With the running back market, with Saquon, it's completely different. We just want to get you drafted. We want to get you to the end of your contract, and then we want to tag you. And then we want to tag you again and let you go on your way. And that is why the NFL has to realize it's a broken system right now. And this is not going to sit well in the Giants' locker room, nor should it. But the reality is they chose their quarterback who played good instead of their running back who played great.
That's exactly right. No, it's a mess. It's a mess for the Giants, and we will see where it goes.
Yes.
What are the priorities as Rodgers begins this thing in real?
Well, let's think about it. This man is about to be 40. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to continue building the chemistry with this offense. Yes, he has former teammates from Green Bay now in Florham Park, but this is still a new city, new team, new organization. Build the chemistry, but more importantly than that, Greeny, he has to continue doing what he's been doing, which is since OTAs, elevating the standard within this building, letting guys know that we need to always be here. He was in meetings and OTAs telling guys like that is not how things should be done. He was praising guys in meetings, like that attention to detail and getting the young guys, because this is a young Jets team with a lot of young talent, getting them to understand that the same old Jets, no, that's done. This is a new day. But again, he has to stay healthy and almost have a Tom Brady type of vibe in that building for this team.
No, and not almost. I think they're looking for almost exactly the same thing that Brady brought to Tampa a few years ago. So let me just set the scene for you here. I come back from my vacation. I'm in a very good, relaxed mood. And then Sal this morning on our pre-show meeting gives me 5 things I should be worried about.
Yeah, meeting went downhill right after that.
5 different things that are going to make this hard for Rodgers.
Oh, well, Kimberly just mentioned 2 of them. The man's going to be 40 years old.
That's one.
His entire environment is changing in training camp. Florham Park in the summer, anybody who knows about North Jersey in the summer, it's hot and it's humid. Not a lot of wind, but very hot and humid. And it's going to be a pressure cooker scene. It's sold out. All the practices, the green and white scrimmage sold out. You've got NFL films there for Hard Knocks. As you have said many times, Florham Park, New Jersey will be the center of the football universe this summer. And he's got to get these young wide receivers on board. You know, I covered that Tom Brady training camp down in Tampa. You know, when Brady went down there, it was a completely different environment. He was older, and he had to really make sure that he took care of his body and he took care of himself and made sure he was ready to go. That's the whole thing is health. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be healthy when things kick off in September?
Danny, tell me everything's going to be all right.
It's going to be fun. I'm a month from 40. I feel tremendous. If I feel good, Aaron Rodgers is going to feel significantly better than me. Listen, I love you, Sal Pal. Pressure? This cat was a first-round pick. He had to replace Brett Favre for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, this guy has been dealing with pressure from the very moment in 2005 that he got drafted by Green Bay in the first round and slid and had to deal with all that light and whatnot. So while I understand that New York is different, I totally get that. This guy doesn't care about pressure. This guy's been in pressure the moment he came into the NFL.
He's not in Kansas anymore.
He's been in pressure the moment he came. The biggest priority is this. This is what this Jets season is going to come down to, Greeny. This is going to be a playoff football team. The number one question is going to be, once the second week of January comes, can Aaron Rodgers have the best month of his career from the second week of January to the second week of February? If he has that month, the Jets will win the Super Bowl because they are that talented of a football team. If he doesn't, then it's going to have to fight every other AFC team because it's a gauntlet.
Can I just ask
Super Bowl, Kmart. Super Bowl.
Can I just ask the class a question?
What is it?
Sure.
What month are we in?
That was in July.
How did we skip all the way to the end of summer? How are we in January? How did Dan take us all the way to January? We haven't even seen this team take the field in training camp, and he's talked. I agree with you. They're a playoff team. But when it comes to what's the most important thing, how about they get through the first 6 games of their season before we talk about if Aaron Rodgers plays the best football ever in January, they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Because I watched them play last year. I watched this football team play last year. I watched this team. I think we were in the back end of November, early December. I think they were the 1 or the 2 seed in AFC, with Zach Wilson having as bad a season as a quarterback can have, essentially. You're going to tell me that Rodgers won't be better?
You're going to you just agree with Dan.
He's right. I'm 100% in on Dan. Everything Dan said, I co-sign, no question about it. All right, I got a break here. Belichick, you know, he's so Belichicky, which is to say that everything seemed to point to him doing this, right? Acknowledging by hiring Bill O'Brien that they made the mistake with the way they handled the coaching last year. There's real pressure, it feels like, from the fan base now. Real pressure, it feels like, from the owner now. And yet he stayed with his usual plan. What does that tell you?
It tells me that they have a slot for certain players, and they don't want to go beyond that slot money-wise. But I agree with Dan, and I agree with Kimberly. This is a big miss, especially when you consider that Bill O'Brien, he's the master of the empty sets. When he was in Houston, that's all they ran. 676 empty sets over his time. That was 3rd most in the National Football League during that period. Last year, Patriots didn't have very many empty sets with their 2 so-called offensive coordinators. Now Bill O'Brien's going to be there. Why not bring in DeAndre Hopkins? So that when Mac Jones goes up to the line of scrimmage with the empty sets, hot ball comes out quickly because he's got DeAndre Hopkins getting open. And this is what you want in your quarterback. You want to give him options. What we used to say is, in our neighborhood, options don't discriminate.
Yeah, and in this case, he's going to be looking around for that. And the empty sets are fascinating for a team that wants to run the ball and has 2 tight ends that they're going to put on the field. What did you hear from people around the league after this?
Well, so I don't think people are that surprised that the Patriots did it, because Belichick, it's sort of like, this is what I think, the money that we're going to spend, and if you don't fall within these parameters, that's it. So, but even talking about DeAndre Hopkins, yes, people thought he's still talented, but there was a ceiling as to what teams were going to pay, and we saw that the Titans clearly were willing to say, we want to bring him in. But honestly, for the Patriots side, to me, it's a huge miss. Because when you look at the AFC East and when you look at the AFC as a whole, you have the Patriots have the smallest margin for error based on their roster. They have a quarterback who has a lot of questions, and they have the least dynamic quarterback in this division and in this conference. So you want to give Mac Jones all the help he can get to get back to the rookie season Mac Jones that we saw. Last year was a complete step back.
Danny, go ahead.
Yeah, number one, this puts tremendous pressure on Bill O'Brien, their play caller, because you have to scheme everybody open now. Number two, the only chance that the Patriots have now is that 2 tight end set of Mike Gesicki and Hunter Henry has got to be one of the 2 or 3 best in the NFL. It's got to become that because they don't have enough people on the outside. Tyquan Thornton, their 2nd-round draft pick of last year, has got to become a guy. I'll challenge anybody at home watching right now, Sal Pal, Kmart, you, Greeny. Give me one person or one unit that New England has that isn't the worst in the AFC East. I'm not talking about give me one that it's the best. They have the worst offensive line. They have the worst skill group. They have the worst running back room. They have the worst. You might tell me their defense is going to be great. Guess who else is? The Jets, the Dolphins, the Bills. They don't have a single guy or unit that doesn't arguably fall at the bottom of their division.
And so I asked everyone to pick the division winners here, and not surprisingly, no one picked the Patriots. Danny's riding with the Bills. Everyone else is riding with the Jets. Did you do that just because you're on this show today, Sal? Is that the only reason you picked the Jets?
Admit it,
because
Sal.
you thought that I would be happy about it?
I picked it yesterday when you were on the show.
Kmart, Jets are going to win the division.
Yes, I'm not. So it's interesting. Didn't Dan Orlovsky, wasn't he pumping you up in the Jets a segment ago? About,
He loves the Jets.
Oh, yeah, January is going to be the Jets' time, win the Super Bowl, and look what he did.
Danny, Buffalo.
Well, because I think Buffalo is still at the top of the division, I think we have to respect kind of what they've done over the past couple of years. I also said middle of January, so we're into the playoffs. Again, I could think I see Buffalo, the Jets, or Miami winning the division. I pick Buffalo because they got to beat them to go take it.
An extraordinarily competitive division, to say the least. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.